Yo, 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 what up, Grizz Nation? And welcome back to another Grizz 901. This is your favorite Memphis Grizzlies post-game show, and it's not even close. Tonight, we have a fun but a short episode tonight as we welcome in Ryan. It is a Sunday night. We normally don't do these, but I thought it'd be apropos to bring in Ryan and kind of do a short version of the show in a sense. But tonight we're going to talk a lot about Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, the big three, Santi Aldama to include on that list. All big games out of those guys and take down the Milwaukee Bucks 132 to 119. Tonight, there's going to be no Grizz trivia. There's not going to be anything extra as we do the look ahead. But Ryan is here, so hopefully he helps us look ahead to tomorrow night. But it's against the Spurs. The Spurs will not have De'Aaron Fox. I don't assume that he will play on such short notice. So overall, the Grizzlies do get a good win tonight, and they're starting to play a lot better. And we're going to talk about all of the main guys, but also guys like Scottie Pippen Jr., who gave them a good chance to win and was just crazy all over just the perimeter guys, because he did not play on everybody like Dame Lillard the entire time. He played amongst everybody in the perimeter, but he was very much of the pace guy. And so we'll get into him, but probably also Wells and EDR rookies. But that's all we got. Let's go ahead and get the show started. Yo, 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 what up, Ryan, man? How are you?
Am I muted anymore?
Nope, you're not. You're good. You're
okay.
Good.
It seems like the past couple episodes, everybody's been muted when they started. So I made sure to look before I talked. No, but that was great national TV game after all of the excitement we've had with the trades and stuff. We were the end cap, so to speak, for the Sunday. So it was a great game.
The end cap, the night cap, whatever kind of cap you like, we got you, Cap. No, not for real.
No,
but Grizz girl, it is a rare Sunday night appearance. It's a late, because the only reason we stopped doing the weekends just in general, one, we have lives. Okay, just to be completely clear, we don't get paid enough to do this on the weekends. I enjoy it, but there's no way that I'm going to do that. But a Sunday games, usually it's matinee-ish, like 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Listen, I'm not trying to do this and just kind of miss my nighttime routine with my kiddos. And so definitely not going to do it. But I put them to bed at 7:30. The game started at 7:30. A little coincidence. But no, we decided kind of midway through the game, I asked Nate if he was able to, and he had some things going on with family. And so contacted Ryan. He was so gracious enough to kind of hang out with us. But the Grizzlies do win 132 to 119. Just kind of off the top rope, man. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I thought the Grizzlies pretty much in every facet dominated the game, except the threes, right? Like the Bucks were incredible in the third and had that run. And then it was like Scottie Pippen Jr. turned into prime pick an all-time great player, right? And just kind of took over the game. Like he was stealing the ball from everyone. He had like 8 assists. I remember a stretch at the beginning of the fourth where he had like 4 assists in 90 seconds. And it just flipped the game. And that in turn with, the Grizzlies actually starting to make some threes, right? Because the difference was so big the entire game. Once it started to go down, they started to get on a roll. They never looked back.
Right. Yeah, and that's what it was. Looking at the two halves is what I want to look at. And before we get into this, Lauren, this is for you, okay? You and everybody else that wants to watch the Grammys, my wife included, who was yelling at me because the TV was still on because she fell asleep watching the Grammys and could not turn it down and could not find the remote and was yelling at me, who I'm in my office right now trying to watch the game, but also get ready for the show. But if you look at the game overall, the Grizzlies, they won the first quarter. Second quarter, were outscored by 5, but was not looking too great, but they weren't looking bad overall. The Bucks could not kind of take advantage of them not hitting as many shots as they normally would. And then the third quarter, it was hot, like 37-41 was the total points of each team. 37 for the Grizzlies, 41 for the Bucks. The Bucks looked like they were kind of running away with it a little bit. I think they went up by 10 at that point. But the fourth quarter was 39 points for the Grizzlies to 20 for the Bucks. What went wrong for the Bucks there in the fourth?
Well, they just cooled off. Just natural regression for a mid team like the Bucks. I'm just gonna say it. But no, like when the Bucks made their run in the third, like the Grizzlies weren't playing great, right? Like through the first half, they kind of just felt like, we're kind of in it. Maybe if things turn around, maybe we can make a little run here. And in the third, like the Bucks just aren't a team when they have an avalanche. It doesn't feel like an avalanche, right? Like, when the Warriors prime Steph and Clay, when they had that avalanche, you're like, okay, the game's over. It never felt that way for me tonight with the Bucks. Like I always felt like the Grizzlies were getting whatever they wanted.
Right.
Their threes just weren't falling, and the Bucks were in the third.
Yeah.
And then the fourth, it just got kind of put together. They were still getting whatever they wanted at the rim, stealing the ball and turn them over, get out in transition, and the threes started falling. So the Grizzlies avalanche is more potent than someone like the Bucks avalanche because you just don't expect it to last, a full 48 minutes.
Yeah. Well, if you look at a guy like Chris Middleton, that's the guy that I was kind of looking at because I have been fading him under the 1.5 3-pointers like a lot this year. Like he has not had a lot of 3-pointers. But tonight he goes 4 or 5 from deep. Let me just look. Very curious. On the season.
That to Giannis going like what, 2 for 3 or something? How many?
Yeah. I'm not looking at it now, but so Middleton went 3 or 4 last game from 3. I don't know if that's happened. Okay, so he did back in December. He did hit 4 3-pointers and went back-to-back games with 3 3-pointers. So he hasn't done a lot. Okay, that was December. Okay, when we were celebrating the old Christmas thing, that everybody remembers so long ago. Yes, that's when he was hitting multiple 3-pointers, but. It's just that doesn't happen often, and it was happening. So the fact that was happening and they still somehow figured out a way, but that happened early. Like he was knocking them down the first half, and then very very much cooled off, which I expected him to do that. But let's talk about Jaren.
Yeah,
we obviously Ja Morant has having issues. There are rumors that he can't even lift his arm above his head right now. He's wearing a ski mask. He might not have a mouth. Like I haven't seen his mouth in a minute. So I'm not sure if that was like a mouth surgery thing. Not sure. But yeah, I don't know what's going on. But supposedly he can't lift his arm above his head, but the reports say that he should expect to come back towards the end of the week. So any thoughts on Ja Morant just at first on him?
I just don't know what's going on enough to be like, hey, I think it could be this, right? Like, which seems to be opposite of what it has been in the past. So maybe it's a good thing now that we're just kind of wondering what it is instead of knowing all what's going on. I would assume it's purely just an injury maintenance thing. I mean, we have seen it in the past with him. He seems to heal really quickly. And we're like, are you sure you're ready to play? And he kind of plays through it.
Right.
So it might just be one of those things with the shoulder where he thought he was ready, but it really wasn't. I don't know. Like I hate to speculate on anything with Ja. I'm certainly not going to add anything to the conversation that people in, Memphis Grizzlies Twitter have been talking about because I don't have anything new, right? Like I'm not going to shed any better light on the situation. It could be a mix of different things, but I would lean mostly towards the injury maintenance thing. I mean, that's what the Grizzlies have done all season, right? Like, they're obviously just trying to get to the playoffs.
Gotcha.
Like, I just don't think there's any rush for these guys to play 70-plus games, especially if they can still be a top 4 seed in the West. I think the injury maintenance and getting to the playoffs intact is more important than trying to push right now at the end of January. I just don't think it's that important. So I'm fine with him sitting as long as it's nothing severe that will be hindering him through the rest of the year.
Yeah. Anything that you take away from how he seems to be coming off as of late? Because it seems like he's
Yeah.
Introvert, which from all accounts he is. I'm very listen.
Yeah.
I am very much the same way. If I walk into a room, I'm going to try to not talk to as many people as I can. I'm hoping to go grab a beverage, find somebody I know, and just so hopefully hold up a wall in a corner somewhere and just kind of shoot the S for a little bit. But
Do the
maybe that's
dad
how he is.
dance,
Yeah,
sway on the back,
yeah,
do a
and then
little, you're
eventually
holding a
do
good, yeah,
the Scottish
the
goodbye or
shoulder.
whatever it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, and then nobody sees me.
Yeah. No, I mean, he has like kind of disinterested, right? Like I feel like there's been times where he's been trying, and
Yeah,
he's been frustrated probably by the lack of foul calls that he thinks he deserves and he's not getting, which you can say it's true or not. I don't know. But he did seem kind of disinterested because he was frustrated.
Mm,
And so it's fine to me that he takes some time off. Like if he's not enjoying playing the game, then
yeah,
we can play adequately without him, right? Like we're
sure.
not going to be a
Regular
top
season,
team. Yeah, regular season, right? Now, if we're in the playoffs and we're doing this, then we got a problem, right?
right?
We
Right.
can't live without him in the playoffs. But
No.
if he just needs kind of this couple weeks to get back in the correct headspace, then there's nothing wrong with that to me.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
is a
Well,
long season.
right. Yeah. 82 games. We're over halfway, I believe we are.
Yeah.
Running up into a big break that they're going to get, which is probably much needed. We're about to have a lot of rumors go back and forth between, all the way up until Thursday, the trade deadline. The Grizzleverse, the hashtag Grizzleverse. Which, listen, I need your help. Okay, you, Nate, and the rest of you that are here watching the show. If you see something crazy out there, go ahead, just under the comments, just put in there hashtag Grizzleverse. I promise you, I will find it. I have everything turned on to make sure that anything that ever pops up hashtag Grizzleverse, it comes directly to me. But let's roll through the game just completely for a second. Okay,
Sure.
so I don't want to spend too much time on each guy because I don't want this to be a long show. We're
Right.
already 15 minutes into it, and I want to get into a lot of the trade rumors, but also the trades that happened. I want to get into craziness, right? So all of that
Oh
will
yeah.
take at least 30 minutes. And so I'm going to try to see if we can narrow it down. So,
That's the only
um,
reason I'm here. It's
yeah,
for
I know. So, Jaren Jackson Jr. tonight,
yeah.
how do you like how he's dominating even a guy like, Giannis tonight?
Yeah, I mean, he was one who kind of had a slow start too, right? But the difference for Jaren is his maturity and growing up. And sometimes it just takes a couple seasons as he kept going
Yeah.
and he got hot and took over the game. So it's always been a time thing with Jaren, and now he's kind of put it together. He's looked amazing, like very
Yeah.
deserved All-Star appearance. I'm curious to what NBA team he's going to be on, All NBA team he's going to be on.
Yeah, I expect him at least a second at this point. Like he's playing so well. And as Grizz Company man, shout out to you, man. Haven't seen you in a while. You're probably hanging out in spaces with all the cool kids in the Grizzleverse. But this is a Jaren Jackson Jr. led operation. Like we are going to continue to be on the back of Jaren as he leads this team. He is a true leader on this team. I don't know if he can do it in the locker room as much, but I think that on the court he's becoming the kind of the go-to guy. But let's keep going just overall. And Drew wants to ask a question. Can I hashtag Grizzleverse goon the shooter in this chat? Absolutely. We'll find a way to put it up there. Brian says that's not it, but Brian says that Jaren is unstoppable, no doubt. So let's keep going with the guys. Bane tonight ended up with 22 points.
Yeah.
Very quiet. He kind of got hurt there at the end of the game, was not in the last 2, maybe 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I think he's fine, but he was asking to come out. It looked like his ankle was a little banged up.
Yeah, I actually thought it was his back.
Okay.
He just looked stiff after he went down on that one play. But yeah, he had a great third quarter, right? Even though the Bucks were on their run, he kind of helped keep the Grizzlies afloat. I think he scored like 10 to 14 points in that third. So, but yeah, when he fell and he just looked kind of stoked up, how that, as we get older, we kind of have that walk, that kind of that waking up more barely move your back walk. That's what he looked like. So I'm hoping it's not another back thing, but I don't know. I would assume he'd be okay.
Yeah, and as Art saying, like, the scary part is the back problems, 100%. Like
Yeah.
Bane going down right now without Ja is very worrisome. No matter what Scotty's done, Scotty really doesn't need to be depended on, and Scotty's able to do, these key moments where he played like with his hair on fire, is really what you want out of a guy that's a role player, but also a bench guy. And so Bane going down would really hurt this team overall. No matter what people say about Bane, he has been one of the more consistent guys throughout the entire season. Last guy I want to mainly hit on is Aldama. He had 23 points tonight, 8 rebounds. The guy looked great. This was a more softer team, as
In
we
the
all
second
know.
half.
Yes, and he plays very well against teams that don't like to be tough or bang too much. And so Aldama, is he a guy that you would look to try to sign in the offseason if you can keep him around?
Yeah, I mean, if the price tag is fair, like I'm not going into the $20 million range for Santi.
Okay.
But if it's something like in a Brandon Clark type range, then I feel comfortable signing him.
Okay.
I mean, he was horrible in the first half. Let's just be honest. Now that was just shooting from the floor, but he really picked it up in the second half. So, I mean, he's had his up and downs. Like that is kind of the MO of a player like that.
Right.
Is he's going to have a 2-week stretch where he's awesome. He's going to have a 2-week stretch where he struggles. Of course, the main questions I have is what that looks like in the playoffs, because you cannot have an on-off like that. Yeah. It cannot be, we can count on this guy for 2 out of 7 games. That's what I want to see with Santi. That's what I'm most interested by. He's having a great year. He's been a major contributor for a team as a spark plug off the bench. Will that carry over in the playoffs? That's something we just have to watch and see.
Yeah. Well, but in let's say 5 or 7 game series, I feel confident that he'll show his positive play throughout the entire series to be a beneficial guy. I think that he is. I think Santi is going to be a guy that is relied on just throughout the entire playoffs. I think he'll be a guy that will be consistent because he is a matchup. Yeah. He can shoot. He can stretch you out a little bit. He can take you off a dribble, which he's shown. He's not great on defense, but I think this team has got enough good defenders on it that you can kind of hide him, but he does enough. And I think that he can contribute in so many ways. But let's move to the bench. And I don't want to spend too much time on him, but we talked about Scottie Pippen Jr. already a little bit. Continue to talk about him if you want. But Jalen Wells was a guy who contributed tonight. Zach Edey had a double-double, 14 and 11. Luka Doncic still looks consistent. He didn't have a big scoring night tonight, but he still looks consistent. Jake LaRavia made some decent plays there in the second half when he was called upon. I'm not going to say Jake LaRavia is a guy that should be in the rotation, but he's a guy that made some decent plays late. Any guy that you want to hit on or just bunch them all together?
No, I mean, you can bunch them all together. They all did their jobs tonight, right? And Scotty exceeded his to where he was a major lift. So, I mean, that's all you're looking for out of those guys. Like, they're cheap for a reason. They're going to be inconsistent, but they just have to go out there and do their job for their 5 to 6 minute stint. And then sometimes you get a bump where Scottie Pippen is just hot. And that really helps propels you. So it can be a different guy each and every night. And that's what's kind of fun about this Grizzlies team is that, NBA teams game plan for the big guys, Jaren, Ja, Bane, you know what Brandon Clark's going to do. But the other guys are just wild cards, and you just never know what you're going to get out of them, which is a good problem to have. So,
absolutely. And as Marcus Murdoch saying, Dame was locked down by Wells. Like, just every game this season, it's just like, my God, like, just get this dude off of me. I'm tired of him. Like, and he's playing, honestly, he's facing people and just not letting them catch it. And when he does, like, it's just like a pest. And there's no idea like what is going through these guys' minds. They're just like, all right, let's just like get this dude off. Like,
please stop.
I'm done. Yeah, just please stop.
The short throw, like, please stop. Like, they just see it in their periphery. That's probably why they're so messed up. They just see the hair in their peripheral vision. Like, oh God, he's right here.
And his hair makes him look taller and a bit bigger. And he's like, oh, all right, well, don't do cornrows. Don't put it down because I think you need to have that a little bit higher. But all right, so we got some questions coming into the chat already about the trades that had happened. Maybe some trades of guys that are going to be. So I don't want to go into I don't want to go into any further into this
Yeah.
at all. But overall, the Grizzlies do win 132-119. It was a good win. It was on the back of Jaren with a lot of ancillary pieces. Put a bow on this. Anything do you want to wrap up about this the rest of this game?
No, I mean, it was very obvious they were the harder working team, I think. Like, I think the hustle plays really kind of the 50-50 ball stuff really kind of shown late in this game, which kind of helped flip it and turn it around in the fourth.
Yep.
And so, I mean, we've seen them in the past when they very few times been on national TV game. It kind of looks like they're sleepwalking a little bit. Like, what are we doing? And they kind of did that a little bit in the first half, but the second half was like the Grizzlies that we know and love that we want to see all the time. So, I mean, I don't know what it takes to get them to do that all the time, but if we got that effort, I mean, they're a dangerous team night to night.
Yep. No doubt. And the Grizzlies get a big win. You know, we've done really well against the Milwaukee Bucks.
7 in a row.
It's crazy how well they played them. And I really want to take them on the main line tonight, but Sunday's national TV, that didn't sound good. So I just kind of stayed away and just enjoyed the game overall. But a big win. In honesty, it was a good win because that Milwaukee team has been hot. I know you call them mid, and I know you think that they're not that great, but they have been hot. And when you're hot, you can be better than you really are. Okay, so I'll give the Grizzlies credit on that. But 132-119 overall tonight in a win. We're going to get to a lot of the trades that had happened already, but also a lot of questions you might have, guys, that you're looking at, because I know you're a trade conspiracy theorist. But
I love it.
I know, and that's why you want to come on here. But this is the Grizz 101 post-game show. We are live after every weekday game. I know it's Sunday and it's a night game, but we're making a special bonus episode. So if you're hearing this and you're getting this, like, hey, what happened? They recorded it last night because you're hearing it afterwards. Yeah, it was just a last-minute thing. At halftime, we decided, why not? Let's do it. So let's get into a lot of these that we've already had. I don't want to go into this too far because it would take the entire show. So let's spend 1 minute on this, one whole minute.
This is not what I was promised.
I know that you turned off your phone or fell asleep last night because only I think I was the only one of me, you, and Nate that was awake when it happened. But you woke up to the news. Which, listen, you checked your messages really late in the morning. I don't know if you completely slept in. My God. But what's going on, and how in the world does Luka Doncic get traded to LA?
I don't really know. My biggest takeaway is that Nico, well, what's his last name? But whatever, for the Mavs, the GM for the Mavs.
Sure.
Like,
it's a lady, right? No,
it's a guy.
Oh, that's the owner. The owner's a lady.
Yeah. And
I don't know what I was thinking.
After kind of catching back up on all of it and seeing all the money stuff, to me, it was a personal vendetta. And you're thinking, like, personal vendetta to send him to the Lakers? Like, what are you talking about? Like, he doesn't get the Supermax now. He goes to a higher income tax state. He gets paired with a team that's not going to be, like, they could be decent. But like LeBron is 40, 41. Like, how long is he going to be there? Then you've got personality clashes between those two. Is LeBron really going to stand off his side while Luka does everything? It really kind of boiled down to me that I thought Nico was just kind of tired of dealing with Luka. Now, I don't know what's going on inside that franchise, right? Like, it's just outside looking in. Because the first thing that popped into my mind, if everybody remembers that video last year, I think it was when the Mavs made the finals.
Yes.
Luka was with his dad drinking a beer.
Right.
Nico walked over, just took it out of his hand, dapped up his dad, didn't say anything to Luka, and just walked off. Like, to me, that was the first thing I thought of. I think there has been tension a long time where I just think Nico didn't want to deal with it anymore. And there was issues about his weight. He doesn't work out, his lifestyle, where that was, not saying Luka's out there going crazy, but Like, they had to stop this man from drinking sweet tea. Like, do you remember his first or second year? Like, he was addicted to sweet tea and they had to cut it out of his diet.
Damn.
Like, God. I just think there was issues, even though they made the finals last year. I just think he just got tired of dealing with it, right? And he has said publicly that they're in win now mode. And I think he secretly questions Luka's in the same kind of win now. Yeah. So he went out and got AD, who is the ultimate win now, right? Because he's done in like 2 years, maybe.
Yeah.
So he was willing to trade that off, the future of Luka, so he didn't have to deal with Luka. So I could be wrong about that, but that is what stuck out to me, is that Nico was just tired of dealing with it. The questions on if he was going to return, if he's going to show up healthy, if he's going to show up in shape, right? Like the Joel Embiid problem. I think he just got tired of dealing with it. And he tried to claim that it was their win now and they want defense and all this stuff. And they weren't sure about giving him a max, and they thought teams were gearing up to make an offer at Luka, and Luka was going to leave. I mean, Luka didn't seem like he wanted to leave. He could do whatever he wanted. And so it just kind of felt like he wanted to get rid of what he thought was a problem. Like he was annoyed by it.
Yep. Yeah. And the thing that pissed me off the most is what LOL Nope Jones says. Lakers are set for years. And
at least with one player. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And they're not going to have much more behind that. And Luka is not in a good spot next year. And the year after that, like they're going to have people that will come there, and that's fine, and they'll figure it out. And somehow the Lakers always figure it out. They'll sell their soul to the devil, and then they'll figure it out somehow. And then somebody will do something stupid to get them out of whatever, the negative that they were going down. But just kind of going through this, like I just don't. Do you think that the Mavs are better this season in that swap of AD and Luka? Just this season?
No. I think they're relatively equivalent, maybe, but the Mavs now have a problem that all NBA teams need in the playoffs, and that's creation, right? Okay. And now they're relying solely on Kyrie, who is 32. And AD is not really a creator. Like they've traded, like Luka is the ultimate kind of creator, like him and Jokic, right? Like they're the sun, everybody revolves around them, and they manipulate everything on the court. The Mavs don't have that anymore. So can you say defensive ceiling, they're maybe a little bit better? Maybe. But if you can't score on the opposite end, it doesn't matter how good defensively you are, right? And they've lost that now. Okay. So I would say that they're probably a little bit less than they are ceiling wise. I would have thought Dallas could return to the finals this year. Now I think they can probably make the conference finals, maybe if they get lucky, but I don't think they really can make a finals anymore.
I think they're going to still need some stuff around the edges to.
It's curious if they're going to try to do anything else.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So we'll see. Real quick, yes or no? That's it. I'm going to ask you 3 questions.
Yeah.
Would you have traded Desmond Bane for Luka?
Yes.
Would you have traded John Morant for Luka?
Yes.
Would you have traded Jaren Jackson Jr. for Luka?
Yes.
All right, there we go. I think everybody understands. Luka is incredible. The fact that they got him for what they got him for out in LA is just dumb. All right, let's go to the game. Yeah, let's go to the game. The team that the Grizzlies are going to play tomorrow night. And they're going to be playing the San Antonio Spurs with no De'Aaron Fox, I would assume, because when you get traded today, you're probably not going to get there and equipped for
not.
Playing. Yeah, my God, I hope not.
Please no.
The Grizzlies could be without Bane for some odd reason that he is not, going to play on a back-to-back when he went out late in that game. Yeah. Jaren looks to be okay enough after getting hit in the face, and he was dripping blood. And I was actually watching on my phone while my wife and kiddos were watching the Grammys, and I was like, "Oh my God, Jaren is just squirting blood." And they're like, "Hold on, what?" And so that was interesting. But as we look forward to the game, but also encapsulate a little bit as well, the trade for just De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs, what does that make them look like moving forward tomorrow, but also moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved De'Aaron Fox, and he has been one of the best in the league at pick and roll kind of pull ups. And Chris Paul is awesome, but he is the age that he is, and he can't really get the shots up, that De'Aaron can. I think they could be pretty good. I'm not sure what happens with everything else because they just didn't really lose anything that mattered to them. Like, I think they traded away Zach Collins, who wasn't playing for them anyways.
No, he sucked.
And
His hair is
I
terrible.
can't remember who the other guy was. But yeah, I mean, it's essentially the Spurs team that's been playing pretty decent for the Spurs. Just add De'Aaron Fox. Like, you can only get better. Now, we always know there's an adjustment time, kind of an incubation period where you kind of get used to each other. But a talent like De'Aaron Fox, point guards don't need as much of a time. You kind of need time to fold in wings and shooters and bigs so they get used to the system. Point guards, you just give him the ball, he's going to figure it out, right? Yeah. So I don't expect them to have like a adjustment period, really. Right. Trey Jones, yeah, okay. And he was playing backup point guard for them. So I'm curious what they're going to do with Chris Paul. Is Chris Paul going in Trey Jones' spot, or are they planning to start them together? That's an interesting thing. I don't know, but I can only think the Spurs just got better because De'Aaron Fox is just better.
Yeah. No, for sure. But tomorrow night, they're obviously going to be down a backup point guard at least. They're going to be down a couple guys that might have played, maybe a guy or two that might have played in the rotation. So they're going to be a little shorthanded, I would assume. But this season, they're now, I think they're in 11th place. They're a couple games total out of 10th. Let me just go look at it real quick because I want to ask you about their playoff chances. So they're 12th. They're 21-25. They're 2 games out of 10th behind Sacramento, weirdly enough.
Ironic. Yep.
I would assume Sacramento holds steady enough, but they're going to have a lot of trouble with having no point guard. Like, they do not have a point guard now. I don't know what they're thinking on that area. But do you think there's any way that San Antonio can say, hey, we're going to be good enough? Because realistically, they're 5.5 games out of 6. So take that as you want, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, whatever. Just add up those games. If they can kind of win some and string some together, the Spurs have a chance to be a play-in team. Is that true or untrue?
I think they can be a play-in team. I think it'll come down to the last 2 weeks. Because I think, whatever happens with Sacramento, I'd expect them to regress a little bit. I mean, it's not like they're 500, right?
Yeah.
But the Warriors, I think, are also 500. So, I mean, this week will tell us a lot. If the Warriors stand pat, I mean, those 3 are kind of fighting for that 10th spot. And you never know what's going to happen with the Mavs right above them and the Suns. Yeah. So, I mean, this is an interesting week because I think things could not switch dramatically, but it could be like tossing in a towel, right? Yeah. Like the Kings kind of seem like, all right, we tried. We got rid of Mike Brown. Now De'Aaron Fox. Like, we know the combo of DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine is a 500 or below team. Are we looking forward? Are we just kind of tossing in the towel now?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's hard to tell. But, I mean, to think that they got all those picks and stuff, maybe they're starting to think about it. Yeah, and the Warriors are just the wild card. You have no idea what they're going to do. So the Spurs could make the play-in. I think it'll come down. It'll be close late.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely all bundled together there in the bottom with a lot of guys and teams that could make some trades to get them, a little bit better position. But it's also a lot of teams that are going to have to give up something to potentially make a move to see if that works. And some of it will not work. We're also going to see injuries. So a lot of teams that you're seeing right now, they could fall and it could settle itself out. But I would assume this Spurs team that we're going to play tomorrow night is they're probably set now. They might make another move at another ancillary piece or something, but I don't think there's anything that would happen. They might send out a Chris Paul to a team that really needs a point guard for some reason to start. to get something back that they might actually benefit from for the future, at least. And so they might be a team that says, hey, we're fine giving up on this year as long as it helps us going forward. So we'll see. But before we get into the Grizzlies stuff, we have our guy, Titan MVP, that's coming in here. You're late. God. No, but we did talk about Ja still nursing his shoulder. I want to ask, do you know if he could be out a while? Because that's this big question, because that's what we're nervous about.
Yeah.
There's been talks about him potentially returning at the end of the week, but the way he looks, it does not look anywhere close like he's going to play tomorrow, but also the end of the week.
I don't know. I mean, you could tell me that he's just not playing in National League or national TV games to thumb his nose at Adam Silver, and he'll be back tomorrow. Like, that's certainly possible. Or he could be out for after All-Star break. Like, you can talk me into either one of them.
The fact that they would put him as doubtful, right?
Yeah.
They put him as doubtful and not out. There's a complete difference. Doubtful means probably not.
But his decision.
We're going to give him a run and see what it looks like. And so it looks like he's having to make the decision, but also they're giving him some early workouts in the day. But we heard after the early workout that it was pretty much understood that he was more than likely going to be out. So I don't know if he grabs another doubtful or another question or questionable to possibly be upgraded to probable. But looking at their schedule, I believe they play Monday and then Wednesday. So overall, I would expect them to be closer in. At that point, then we have the trade deadline. Yeah, they play Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. So not bad. You have the Spurs and the Raptors, which they should beat back-to-back, even without Ja. Then you have the Thunder on Saturday. You obviously have the trade deadline, all that kind of moving and shaking. I would expect the Thunder not to do much. If Ja's not back by that Saturday game, the day before the Super Bowl, are you worried?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No. Until they say that this man's going to need season-ending surgery, I am not worried.
All right. Well, let's move past. But thank you, Titan MVP. If you want to have your question or anything, no matter what part of the show, we'll make sure we bring it up. We'll get to it, even if you're late, Titan MVP. But yeah, move the front of the line. If you have a super chat, by all means, we appreciate you as always. But let's get into a little bit of the Grizzlies and what they need to do. So I'm going to lay the floor. I'm going to lay it out for you. You do what you need to go. You steer us the direction. But the Grizzlies, in my opinion, need to make a trade. I don't know what that looks like. I'll play off of you. Where should they go? Should they make a trade, not make a trade? What do you think?
I think they need a trade. I think it has to be someone that's proven, right? I mean, Cam Johnson is the most obvious one.
Right.
He's already fit in a team construct that made a run to the finals. He can play a role. Like, he's the most obvious fit. Jimmy Butler is an ultimate wild card because he does raise the ceiling of your team, but then you got to deal with him. And he's not probably going to be here after the summer.
What is he thinking? Literally, is he just saying, I'm going to the Suns no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize the Suns were just, we'll give you 4 more years.
They're idiots.
If you come here. I don't understand that. I guess they can think they can trade him again later. I don't know. But yeah, I think it has to be a proven wing that's played in the playoffs before. And really, about the only guy that seems available is Cam Johnson. But the only problem is, as we've seen today, there was a lot of guys traded that didn't seem like they were going to be traded. Like, they were just out of left field.
Yeah,
you're moving. It's like, okay. So if it's going to be like that, I have no clue who you even possibly target that could be that, because I mean, maybe with the new CBA and all this stuff, teams are willing to let go of guys who are not top 3 on their roster, right? Like, okay, we can have a conversation about, I don't know, Mikal Bridges, just for example, right? Because he's not Cat or Jalen Brunson. We can have that conversation. So I don't know who that guy is. Like, is Miles Bridges somebody that is interesting that propels you anything? Probably not. Like the guy's never played in a play. I don't think he's ever played in a playoff game.
I don't know. Then there's the off the court issues that you're going to get past as well, which is a little hairy.
Yeah, I mean, he seems destined to be a Clipper because the Clipper have seemed to been
God.
collecting all those like Infinity Stones. But like Cam Johnson seems like the very obvious one, right? Like he's out there, he's been sitting out there. It just kind of seems like the Nets are waiting, the Nets are waiting for the Grizzlies to match what they want.
All right, so yeah,
and
so
we got what that is.
We got a question. Yeah, LL Nope Jones says, like fantasy trade. There's a guy out there that you want, perfect fit for this team. I would let's keep top tier guys out of it, because if you do give up a top tier guy, you're going to have to come off of Ja, Jaren, and Bane. Okay, so without having to come off of Ja, Jaren, and Bane, is there a trade? And maybe you include one of those if it really makes sense. But is there a guy that you would go get if available?
I'd be really interested by Franz Wagner.
Ooh,
he would be a really interesting player with us. Another top end. That might be gettable.
They might not be gettable.
Okay.
Or we think they're not gettable. Nobody thought Luka was gettable. My God.
Yeah. You make a great point. I'd be really interested, and he's not a star, but I'd be interested in Jabari Smith from the Houston Rockets.
Okay.
I think you could probably get him pretty cheap right now with the way the Rockets are rolling without him. I like his fit with our team. I'm not a big Jeremy Grant guy. That's just not someone that I would ideally go for.
John Collins.
Somebody like, I mean, John Collins is okay, but I don't know if he's a needle mover, you know? I see a lot of comparison with John Collins and PJ Washington, and they're just not the same player. Like PJ Washington's a better defender. He's a better wing player. John Collins is more kind of like a stretch four a little bit. Now, he's not a bad player, right? He is a good player. I don't think he brings you the same kind of thing that PJ Washington does in terms of toughness, defense, switchability, the functionality of what he can do. I think he's very kind of a four. And that's why the Hawks moved off from him, because he's undersized and he's really only best as a four. Right. But he would be a decent player off the bench. Like,
you wouldn't even start. You wouldn't even start John Collins if he came.
I don't think I would start him. No, because I mean, who are you going to start him over? Like, is that where you're putting Jalen Wells to the bench and now you're trusting John Bane to guard the other team's best perimeter player? Like, I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. So, I mean, Dream is somebody like Franz Wagner, right? That is a good player that is probably realistic that you maybe could get.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
All right. Let me run through a lot of these names because I see them in the chat, and I appreciate everybody bringing them in here. And Goon the Shooter wants Lamar Stevens. And listen, I think Lamar Stevens is a good player as your 15th guy. I think that's fine. But I would probably just send him down to the hustle and just hope he's really good with Yuki. Like, that's really the only thing I would do with Lamar Stevens. I think he was good last year and he excelled, but I think we're a little above that level again. But run through these guys real quick. Kyle Kuzma, yes or no?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if you could go get Derek Lively or Daniel Gafford from the Mavs because they need a guy like a Marcus Smart, and they're willing to come off of one of them, maybe Lively since he's hurt right now, even though he's the higher and better prospect, maybe they would come off of one of those guys for a guy like, Marcus, I don't know, Marcus Smart, something like that. Would you do either or both?
Yeah, I would be fine with either one. I mean, I would think you would probably get Gafford. I would doubt that they would let go of Lively.
Well, Lively's just out until like April, I think.
Yeah, I just doubt that they would do that.
Yeah,
but because Lively is like the much better prospect.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Gafford would be a nice player. He'd be more bouncy, more active in the pick and roll stuff. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I would be fine with that. Yeah.
What about Art wants to know, what about Miles Turner?
I like Miles Turner. I'd be okay with him for sure.
Okay.
Guy who can shoot threes and still protect the rim too. Yeah.
Okay. Clint Capella.
No, thank you.
Uh,
Sorry.
Art says that DeAndre Hunter is better than Cam Johnson. Do you like DeAndre Hunter for the Hawks?
No, I've never understood the DeAndre Hunter hype. Sorry.
Would you go trade for Jay Huff? Sorry, kidding.
But that's a good question. Why is he like banished?
I think they're trying to shorten up a lot of the rotation. If we've seen the rotations, like they went to a 10 guy, and then when there's for some reason when let's say Ja's back, you don't see other guys as much. And I know they've tried to keep Jake in the rotation. I'm telling you, I think they want him to play 8 to 10 minutes at least, no matter how many people's on the court, so they can keep showing him off to eventually maybe trade him. He's an expiring contract.
Yeah.
I think they want to keep Santi around, but I think you keep playing Jake just to keep him in rhythm, keep him looking somewhat good. That way he doesn't disappear, and you can keep his trade stock up. Whenever you put him on the bench and you DNP him, that draft stock just plummets completely. And so I think keep playing him, and I think that's the reason. But yeah, I don't know why J Huff. I think J Huff's just matchup based. If Edie doesn't have it, I think you see J Huff more in a second half kind of guy.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just
All
like,
right,
where is he?
Yeah, if Sacramento does make more moves, Keegan Murray, any
Oh,
chance you go
please. Yes. I love Keegan. Yeah.
Okay.
I would love him on this team.
Do you agree with Marcus here? Go get a big man who can rebound and rebound.
I mean, it's okay. It's not on my list of top priorities, right? Like I'm always going to prioritize creation. Like that is the number one thing I'm looking for. It's why Jaren is all of a sudden an all-star player. It is the development of his creation. Why are the most important bigs in the NBA, like, why are they that important? It's because they can self-create, right? Anytime you can create for yourself, like if you go look at bigs who they shoot threes, right? Like Brooke Lopez, shoots threes. 98% of his threes are assisted, right? Why is Wemby so awesome? The man can shoot a step back three by himself, unassisted. Jaren can do that. Jokic can do that. Like that is why when you see the top tier bigs that are elite, it's because they can do things unassisted, and you can't really game plan for that. Yeah. So, like Gafford is a good player. Everything he has to do on the court to score is assisted. Like he is not going to create anything for himself. And that is where Grizzlies have gotten in trouble in the past, is they do not have enough creation. And so I'm just always going to lean to that kind of player. Do you need a player who's a big guy who rebounds? Yes, it's an important part of the game. If I have my choice of the two, I'm going with someone maybe who can hopefully do a little bit of both, but can also do a self-create and doesn't have to rely on being passed to,
Yeah. You have to be careful of who you bring on this team. Do they fit? Yeah. Like there's a lot that has to play into it. Would you, I know this you wouldn't do it because it wouldn't make sense, but would you somehow go get a guy like a Steven Adams or a Jonas Valanciunas to be as a backup big potentially?
I mean, backup is fine. Yeah. I'm just not expecting, I wouldn't go get them expecting them to play a pivotal role, right?
Yeah.
Backup would be a good spot for them if they want.
Well, I think they Adams, obviously, I don't think he's leaving. There's no reason why Steven Adams would leave and come back. The Grizzlies just lost the entire mid-level exception. I believe there's some exceptions in there somewhere that they might get something, even though they lose, it expires. I don't know. I tried to Google today and I didn't have time to even go down the rabbit hole, but I would be okay with getting a JV. And I know that some people might be against it because you do have a guy like BC still there. But if you do go get JV, I think he can help you maybe more in the playoffs when I don't know if Edie is that guy. You are spending $10 million though on a guy that that you might not play some games in JV, but he is a backup on the Washington Wizards, which they suck. So whatever. It's crazy. But yeah,
No,
I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I see some people in the chat making their comments like they don't want to take the ball out of your top 3 players' hands. I would actually argue that's why we've had trouble in the past, is because we only have 3 guys that we can go to, right? Like, just look at someone like the Boston Celtics. There's 5 guys on the court that all at pretty much any time that can dribble, shoot, and pass. And that's why they're so good. And I get people like, oh, they're down this year. Okay, it's a regular season. They just won championship. Like, they're going to probably be in the finals again, right? And it's because they have 5 guys who can do all 3 things. And the more of that, the better. And I think you're just easier to guard when a team, you jump tip and you know that you've got to watch out for Jaren and Ja and Bane.
Yeah.
You can game plan against that very easily. And then you're playing off of people hoping Santi has a bad night or whatever. Like, you just don't rely on them. If you have 2 other guys that can create, it's another level of unpredictability on offense where you can find other avenues to score instead of relying on just those 3 guys.
Well, Wayno's not happy with you. No, and Wayno is joking, but it's okay to be wrong, Ryan. Listen, you do not put Wayno, you do not have to say you're just joking. That's not how we work here. You say what you say and you stand on it. We know that you're probably joking, but a little bit maybe not joking. So that's okay. That's where I like to live, is the possibility of you maybe not joking. But I know Art had a question here, and I know you kind of answered it earlier when I asked you who would you go get, but is there like a creator that's available or somebody that's out there that would be gettable that you would love to have?
See, that's the problem, is who is that guy, right? Because the person that would be someone like that is a head case, or the price tag for him is maybe not worth it. Or it's just like a clash of, it just wouldn't fit your team, There's just not, that's why I've had trouble with this, because there's just not an obvious candidate where I think that's a slam dunk, right? Where that's an obvious ceiling raiser. So I mean, I wouldn't say I'm resigned to the point where I'm just willing to ride it out with what we have and see what the young guys show, right? When we get to a playoff. I get the urgency. Everybody wants to win right now. I don't know. I'm in between. You could talk me into either one.
Okay. Well, this will be obviously a trade filled week, I would assume, just by looking at how it's getting started. When you have a big trade like this, do you think it just automatically sets people kind of their hair on fire as GMs and owners and say, hey, we need to do something too? Do you think that is how this goes?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of pressure on the Warriors now. I think they have to do something. I think they feel like they have to do something.
Okay.
So no clue what they're going to do. But if any signs happen today, then, I wouldn't be surprised if they got Jason Tatum, no. But like, I do feel like it kind of turns into a mini arms race, And unfortunately, as fans, there's always like you're an idiot, you're smart side. Like, there's no in between where you can kind of see both. Like, today, the Dallas Mavericks were idiots. Okay. Like, were they? Yeah. I mean, it's Luka. He's 25. He's probably going to be great for another 10 years. There's also another side where Luka's knees are just bad and he hardly plays. Like, he's like Zion. And the Mavs get to a finals with AD. So, there's always a middle ground. But I do think there's a pressure on a lot of these older teams they're falling behind people like the Warriors, where they feel the urgency to do something, even though they said they don't. They don't feel like kicking away the future or whatever for Steph now. But I think there's pressure on those kind of teams to do something.
Yeah. Well, and that's what the good spot that the Grizzlies are in is, if the Grizzlies were to do nothing,
Yeah.
I feel okay about
Yeah.
this team.
It's
Like,
fine. Yeah.
and I mean that with all sincerity, like, okay. Like,
Yeah.
I think that they could win a first round against anybody. I think they could easily lose a first round against anybody.
Yeah.
I think that they could get through the second round, fairly well. I really do think that they could get through 2 rounds right now, and it would not shock me
Yeah.
if they got
I
to the
agree.
championship game and they won that game over Houston. In all honesty, over the Thunder. I would be a little shocked. Not because I think Houston's that good. I just think that they're playing much better, and everything could change, and they might make some moves that don't work out for them. I just don't think that they match up with that style of basketball, and I think there's something missing with this Grizzlies team. And I think it's been
Yeah.
Ja mainly, but it also has been somebody next to on that starting lineup. And I know Wells has played well, but they've had a lot of questions, and maybe Wells and Edie will keep getting better. But it would not make me mad if they didn't do anything. But I think they need to somehow go all in for doing something that might benefit them, but not having to overspend for your future just to go
Yeah.
get a guy like Cam Johnson. I think he's good. I
Yeah.
think he fits the team great. I don't think
Right.
he's something you put in 4 first-round picks for.
Right. Yeah. He's not like the difference between them making the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
It's just that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is it worth it to you to do something? Just to do something? Is it really that much of a needle mover?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, this is a small market team that has to consider budget. They've claimed they'll go into the tax. We haven't seen that. And it's also probably not the right opportunity. Is Cam Johnson worth someone to go in and tax for? No.
I don't know.
So yeah, I'm with you. Like I kind of think they ride it out with what they have. And the top 3 just turns it up a level when we get to the playoffs.
Okay.
And we just kind of see where the young guys are. Who's going to be there, who's not.
Yeah.
I would expect every series, if they advance, to be a 6 or 7 game series. Like, I don't expect them to win any series easy. And it's just like Houston. Like, I doubt Houston gets out of the first round. Like, I just do.
Wow.
There's just not enough offense there. But it also depends on matchup, right? That's a big thing.
Yeah.
They could win the Grizzlies could win every round in 6 or 7 games. They could lose the first round in 7. Like, that is kind of the wild variability with them. But yeah, I'm not trading away Gigi, Jalen Wells, multiple first round picks for Cam Johnson, when I don't know that Cam Johnson's really going to take me. Like, all of a sudden I'm a shoe-in for the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Yeah. Well, as Art's asking here, Smart Laravia Santi, and a pick for Cam Johnson, does it save us money?
I don't know
thing
Cam's
is,
contract, but
I
would
don't
assume
know
so.
exactly, verbatim whether or not it saves us money, but what it does is Santi's coming off the books, Laravia's coming off the books, right? So both guys are expiring. So you get to go 3 for 1, which is a benefit for now, but you still have to have guys to put on the roster for next season or potentially this season, right? And so at that point, you have to figure out a way to fill your roster. And so you still have to. So then, let's say you break even, you then have to spend to go fill in those other current spots. So you're going over. Now, what do you get for those guys? I don't know. Can you put them into a trade exception? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of ways around it for sure, but just doing 3 for 1, it does consolidate your roster a little bit, but that doesn't make you necessarily better. I think getting Cam Johnson for a guy like Marcus Smart, who I don't love in this offense and on this team just overall, it's definitely crazy. But I want to see their offense change. I want to see a lot that can happen because this team is in a good spot. And so, we'll see overall. But I do have a question up here that Wayno asked real quick. We'll probably make this one of our last ones, if not the last one. Moving on, Mo, do you think this is the best position the Grizzlies have ever been to make a major run at a good trade or make a major run at consolidating the team?
Yeah, I mean, they have the young pieces to do something, I think, if they wanted to.
Yeah.
The other problem is you got to have a partner on the other side that, is interested in what you have. I mean, I think Santi is interesting for other people in his developmental curve where he's gone. Like, I think he's interesting. Marcus Smart, being a vet that's also expiring. You know, GMs with this cap like that, right?
Yep.
So yeah, they're positioned well for a lot of different avenues. And I think a lot of times, when you don't do anything, a section of your fan base is always going to be upset about it. Like, you're just going to always be upset not doing anything. Then there's going to be a section, if we did make that move, there's going to be a section of the fan base that, why did we do this? Our team was doing fine. Why would he mess up? You're not going to.
We have it in the chat.
You're not going to you're not going to please all three sections of whoever that fan base is. So the front office has done enough to where I think you can relatively trust in what they're going to do. They have never been a team that has panicked, done something. They've been on the side of, well, let's kind of develop, and if there's something there, then we'll take a shot. If it doesn't, then fine. We'll keep going the developmental route. But I know people get impatient with that. Like, they want to win. They want to win now, and I understand it.
And as ASAP Casper says, like, the West is not getting any easier. Like, you now have Fox that, you know, was in the West, but now he's coming into the Spurs with Wemby. The Rockets have now, you know, jumped up. The Lakers have gotten Luka, so they're going to be good for the foreseeable future. The Mavs are going to be the Mavs because now they have Kyrie, who does well against you, but also they have a guy in AD who does well against you. The Thunder are, my God, they look so good and they're so deep. They don't even have Chet right now next to their center there, Hartenstein. And so there's a lot that's going on. The Grizzlies are in a good spot, but the Grizzlies are also need to make sure they do what's right for now, because if you make too many dumb moves, and I know that everybody wants to win this year, but if you make too many dumb moves that really sacrifices your future, my God, you might be behind the 8 ball. And at that point, you're selling everybody and having to start over from the beginning, because I do love Ja Jarrett and Bane, but my God, I don't know if that's going to be able to compete with everybody. So they're going to have to develop as well. And so there's a lot that happens, and there's a lot that goes into these teams. So it's crazy. But final thoughts, anything that you're expecting or looking forward to as we get closer to the trade deadline this Thursday?
The next 4 days are some of the best days as an NBA fan. Like, it's just, you're on high alert at all times.
No doubt. It's going to be crazy.
Especially after today. Yeah, you're on high alert.
Yep, for sure. And you're on high alert from this show that was supposed to be like 30 minutes, and we went for a freaking hour. No idea that we were going to go that long. I kept looking at the time and just like kept going crazy. But anyway, Ryan, thank you for hanging out tonight and joining us as always. We'll take on the Spurs tomorrow night. The first edition of the Grizzleverse is going to be around. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so we're going to take some shots at some people that say some crazy stuff in the deep, dark depths of Grizz Twitter that we've deemed the Grizzleverse. But tonight the Grizzlies do win 132-119 over the Milwaukee Bucks. And so it's been a good night, or good day overall. It's been a good weekend. The Grizzlies are on a good stretch. They now get, you know, 2 teams in the Spurs and the Raptors that they're going to take on. They might be able to get some good wins, but we'll be back tomorrow. So make sure you tune in for that. It'll be right after that Spurs game. The final buzzer sounds. You'll be here. We'll be here for sure, but Nate should be back joining me for that one as well. But Ryan, thank you. And thank you all for joining us in the chat. Late notice, bonus episode, but we'll see you all tomorrow night. Be nice and tell your friends.